This is the book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 21. Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skin and clothe them.
So let me explain. So let me give you context. Adam and Eve, of course, committed the first sin. Eve convinced Adam to commit the first transgression of God's commandments. Adam did it with his wife. After that, they were cast out of the garden. They at first tried to hide themselves among the other trees of the garden, which is a metaphor for hiding themselves among the cultures of the garden. They clothed themselves with fig leaves, right? That's a metaphor for the culture of that tree.
Right.
The tree is the family trees of the many nations and races that were round about the garden.
Right.
They took a leaf from that tree and covered themselves with it. That's a metaphor for taking another man's culture and dressing yourself in it. If you're from Philly, you've seen Muslims with red beards and kufis on and dresses, speaking Arabic, banging their head on the ground every day, carrying a rug under their arms. They are wearing the fig leaf of the mighty Arab race. They're wearing their culture in the hope that they'll be pure, because now they're not themselves. They're this great people. Or Judites do it all the time and walking into an office every day with a shaved face and a shaved head and talking white and acting white and marrying a white girl, hoping that they can take another people's culture, dress themselves in it, and be purified because they're finally not themselves. Everyone understands. Adam and Eve did that. But when the Lord found them, he dressed them in coats of skins. He took off that culture and dressed them in a coat of skin, animal skin, which is whose culture? Our culture. I know you were going to answer it right. That's our culture. That's sheepskin. That's leather. That's our culture. What does that mean? Meaning that's a metaphor for behaving like yourself. And that's what you see in the UPK. You see Black and Hispanic men behaving like themselves, behaving the way we would behave, unmolested by the other nations, untouched, unharmed by the other nations, dressing how we would dress, talking how we would talk, behaving how we would behave, if not for trying to mix in with them. So the Lord gave them their culture to put on. Keep going. You die.
Verse 22. And the Lord God said, behold, the man has become as one of us.
And the Lord God said, behold, the man has become as one of what?
One of us.
Keep going.
To know good and evil.
To know good and evil. This man has become like one of us. Who is the us? The powers, the angels, the Most High, and the angels. He's become like one of us. How like one of us? Doing, being able to create planets and stars and create the Milky Way. How did we become like the angels and the Most High?
They knew what happened when you were good and the punishment for you.
The people knew the goodness of obeying God and the punishment for not obeying God, which before this we did not know. We did not know. All we knew is that God said to do it. That's all we knew. All we knew was God said to do it, and we did it. Now we know it's good if God says to do it. It's bad if he does not. When before that, we weren't like that. We just knew, he said, eat this. I'm eating that. He said, don't eat that. I don't eat that. We just did what he told us to do. But now we have something that we didn't have before. I'm trying not to give you the answer. We had the knowledge of good and evil. So because we have the knowledge of good and evil, what did the Most High do? Keep going.
Come on. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever.
So now because we know that doing what God says is good and not doing what he says is bad, now we'll take from the tree of life and live forever, because we know what? We know what it's like when you disobey God. And the angel, keep going.
Verse 23. Therefore the Lord thy God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to the ground from whence he was taken.
Here we go. So the Lord sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to the ground from whence he was taken. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 24. So he drove out the man.
So now, okay, we can break that part down. Read that one more time.
So he drove out the man.
So all I need you to know now is because of this, they got cast out the garden. Because if they would have stayed in the garden, what would they have done? Whoever can answer this, I'll be impressed. I will be impressed if you can answer this. If they would have stayed in the garden, what would they have done? If Adam would have stayed in the garden, what would he have done? Young man. Right, you. Say again. Give him a hand. I see something. All right. That is a whole different kind of God than the Christian church. Do you understand that Adam got kicked out of the garden? Because if he would have stayed, he would have obeyed God there. That's why he got kicked out. Because if he would have stayed, he would have obeyed God. Why would he have obeyed God? Why would he have obeyed God? Abun?
Because he at that point knew what it was like to disobey.
Because he knew disobeying him gets you jammed up and hurt. So if he was left in the garden, he would have obeyed God. That's why Adam got kicked out of the garden. Because if he stayed in that place, he would have obeyed God. Keep going. Does everyone see? If you don't see it, I'll read it one more time. It's right here in front of you. It was in front of your preacher the whole time, too. Read it one more time.
And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Verse 24. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the garden of Eden cherubim.
So he drove the man out the Garden of Eden and placed eastward in the Garden of Eden cherubims. Cherubims are angels. He placed angels in the east to guard the Garden of Eden from the man. Keep going.
And a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life.
What does it mean to keep the way? What does that mean? To keep the way. What is I'm about to give it to you. What does it mean to keep something? If I say this is my keep, what do I mean by that? It's old biblical talk that you should brush up on to understand the Bible. Young man. Say again? Give him a hand. That's exactly what it means. To keep, your keep is the thing you protect. The place that you protect. That's your keep, right? That's the old word would be keep or to watch. To watch would be the same word, sis. When Cain was talking about watching over his brother the way a sheep herder would watch over sheep. Meaning the Lord said, where is your brother? And Cain sarcastically and arrogantly said to the Lord, am I my brother's keeper? Meaning, do I watch over my brother like my brother watches sheep? Cain had a fresh mouth, and he was evil for saying that. He was being sarcastic. His brother's keeper is like a zookeeper. A zookeeper is someone that watches all the animals, make sure they eat, make sure they don't kill each other. And he's saying, am I my brother's keeper? And it was a sarcastic and smart mouth thing to say to the Most High. That's why he said it. You understand, right? Brother.
So Adam was kicked out of the garden because if he stayed, he would have obeyed the commandments. So by being kicked out of the garden, why wouldn't he obey outside of the garden?
He might, but he might not. And the only people that get the kingdom are the people that can resist temptation now. You understand? This is what Adam did for all of us. In the garden, it would have been extremely easy to keep God's commandments because we would have been in our own land with our own farms and industries and everything wonderfully given to us. Would we have obeyed God there? You see the problem, right? Right? We would have most definitely obeyed God in a land completely set up to reward you for obeying God. The Lord wasn't letting that kind of man get the kingdom. No. Now you're going to earn it. I'm kicking you out for you to fight your way back in. That's the God of the Bible. Not the God of the church. That's a whole different God. This God looks at you and says, I set you up in the perfect place for you to obey me. I told you what to do, but you didn't do it. Then you disobeyed me and I punished you. Now you damn sure will obey me now and live in my wonderful mansion that I have for you. Now, get out and go from the ground from which you came. What does that mean? What was the ground that Adam was taken from? Young man right here. Get back in the dirt where I found you and fight your way back in this house. That's our Father. And that's why Christ called him the Father, to make you get him. The Lord is someone that you really have to understand how he thinks. And if you could understand a strict and loving Father, that's the Most High. He doesn't, now that I know you sinned, you broke my rules, and now you're like, Dad, I see I was wrong now, Dad. The water for teaching me, I get it. Now I'll be in my room on my video games. If you need anything, tell Mom to bring my dinner upstairs. I know I was wrong. For water for that chastisement. Ma, could you bring my lunch? I'll have it in the video game room. Yeah, I know you'll obey me here. Yeah, yeah, I get it. With your mother here feeding you and your father here paying all the goddamn bills, I'm sure you will obey me now. But let me see what's in you. Let me see what kind of man. I'm kicking you out the house. Now you go out in the dirt and claw and fight your way back in this house. Now when you come back now, a man who now will obey me when you don't have to. You'll obey me when everything is telling you not to. That's the son a father will accept. But what father wants a punk that obeys him for a place to live in a warm bed? You understand? Keep going.
Come with this, sir.
Read it for him again, because I know no one understands what the hell I'm saying. As usual. Right? So I'll read it one more time slowly, because you have to really break Christianity to get what's right in front of you, and you can read it for yourself, and there would be no other breakdown you could come up with but the one I just said. There would be no other one. Go ahead and read it.
Come. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life.
Turned every way, meaning there's no way you can approach this place and get in. He's keeping you out. You're going to have to fight your way back in. You can't sneak in. The Israelites that went back to Dimona, Africa in the 60s, that was a cowardly way to sneak back into God. Everyone tries it. Some brothers from Chicago, mainly, they try to go sneaking and go back in the garden. The GOCC, they try to get a passport and sneak their way back in the Garden of Eden. That place is being guarded so that sodomites and thieves and liars like you can't get in this place anymore. It's being protected on every side. Keep going. Now go up above it and read it one more time. From the time he caught them and put skins on them.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 21. Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skin and clothe them. And the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become one of us, to know good and evil.
So the Lord goes to the angels and goes, this man knows good and evil now, just like us. He gets it. He sinned, I punished him. Now what? Now he'll never sin again. Why would he? I have trees here with every fruit that he wants. The ground and the fish and the streams and the land bountiful. Everything he wants is right here. But now he's just like us. He knows what it is to be evil when he didn't know before. But now he does know. Keep going.
And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever.
Now, if I leave him in the garden, he will stay here and live forever. What is live forever talking about? If you can get this, brother. What does it mean to live? If I don't kick him out the garden, he will live forever. Young man. You walking down the road to it. Think about the father Think about that. If I don't kick him out, he will eat from the tree of life, which is God's commandments. He will learn my commandments and live forever. And God doesn't want that. What does it mean to live forever? Young man, he won't sin again. And because he doesn't sin again, he will live forever. And God doesn't want that. You have it? Think the Father. It's all right, young man.
You will sincerely worship the Most High.
Give him a goddamn hand. That is impressive. This brother comes to class. Who in the hell is this in here? You must be in every class. Like any good father, he knows that if I leave you in my house, yeah, you'll keep the rules. And you'll be the evilest nigger alive keeping the rules in this house. You understand? You'll never get punished if I don't kick you out, because I will provide everything for you. There are so many of us that don't steal because they're rich. Do you understand? Because they have everything. So since they have everything, we look at them like, boy, they never get locked up. They never go to jail. Yeah, I know they don't, because they're born with having everything they want. So no, you don't catch them throwing a brick in the window and stealing sneakers, because they just buy all the sneakers they want. Does that mean that they're better than someone that's poor? No, they have just been blessed. They've been given everything. So now you can look down on a poor man who's stealing and look at a rich man like he would never steal. He's wonderful. Why would he steal? He just buys everything because his daddy gave him money. Do you understand? When the Lord wants sincerity, that's what he wants. He's kicking you out of the garden to see what kind of man you are. So outside of the garden, what situation will you be in? The perfect situation to steal. The perfect situation to lie. The perfect situation to disobey God. If you keep God's commandments out there, you deserve to come home. Does everyone understand? Like any good father. Like any good father. He wants to see if it's real or not. Are you obeying me because I provide everything for you in the garden? Or are you obeying me because you could have disobeyed me? You know right from wrong, and you're in a land where everybody does the wrong thing, and you still didn't do it. Welcome home. Come back home now. Everyone understands. If you want to look for the perfect scenario, where would you look? In the New Testament, Jediah. Give him a hand. I just broke down. What I just broke down is the prodigal son. Him leaving home was the best thing that could have ever happened to him. Because outside of his daddy's house, he ate out of a pig's trough. And as he was eating, he said, the servants in my father's house eat better than this. I'm going home with my face down. His father said, come in, my son. He put a ring on his finger and prepared a feast for him. And when his older brother said, Dad, I never left. You never made a feast for me and my friends. He said, son, I love you and you are always with me. But thy brother was dead and now he is alive. That's our father.
Right.
That's him. He had to kick Adam out of that garden to see if he was worthy to receive it. To see if he was man enough to obey his father outside in the streets. Here we are to this day, trying to fight our way back in. Next.